Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're continuing to expose this straight-up fraud, Pastor Eduardo. If you enjoy our videos, please don't forget to comment and share.
Do you want me to show you that the sages believe Messiah was God too?
Who Jewish sages?
Yeah. You believe
Yeah.
that the Messiah was God. Can you read Hebrew?
Yeah.
Okay. I want you to read this for me real quick, all right? Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Read that for me, bro. Yeah, okay, so the Ruach Elohim. Okay, so this is, the earth was formless and void, and the Ruach Elohim hovered over the face of the waters, right? The Spirit of God, the Ruach Elohim, hovered over the surface of the waters. Let's look at what the sages say. Okay, are you familiar with this? This is Midrash Rabbah, the book of Leviticus. It says, when the Spirit of God hovered over the face of the waters, this is the Spirit of the Messianic King. The Bible speaks of how the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. They indeed see a reference to the Messiah. And Midrash Rabbah, which is this commentary on the book of Genesis, right, and other places, says in this context that this was the Spirit of the Messiah, as is written in Isaiah 11:2, and the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him. A couple of other writings also mention that this refers to the anointed king. This kind of hint is understandable when we bear in mind the rabbis' view that even the names of the Messiah were determined before the creation of the world. This is something we need to think about, that when the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters, indeed, this was the Spirit of the Messiah. Let me ask you a question. How can the Spirit of Messiah exist from that long ago? How can the Spirit of God be equated with the Spirit of the Messiah if the Messiah is not God?
Eduardo's method is simple. Purposefully cherry-pick statements out of context and then claim as if the early sages believed in things which they didn't. In this instance, he cites two Midrashic statements. The first statement is from a Midrash on Genesis 1:2, which states that the Spirit of God hovering over the face of the waters is the soul of the Messiah. And the second is that the name of the Messiah was created before the creation of the world. From these two statements, Eduardo claims that the early sages must have believed in some sort of divine Messiah. Regarding the first Midrash cited, Eduardo's claim for the sages maintaining the Messiah to be divine is that they reference his soul existing from that long ago. Surely they must have held him to be God. What Eduardo fails to tell you is that the early sages held to the belief that the soul of every Jew existed also from that long ago. As we see, the sages held that the soul of every Jew was created that long ago, not just the Messiah's. Clearly the sages did not believe in a divine Messiah on that basis. The second point Eduardo raises: if the sages applied a verse about God to the Messiah, they must have believed the Messiah to be God. Again, what Eduardo conveniently doesn't tell you is that the sages applied the very same verse to multiple other non-divine and non-godly figures. Clearly the early sages could not have believed in a divine Messiah on that basis. Eduardo then cites the Talmudic passage, which states that the name of the Messiah was created before the creation of the world. Firstly, note the word created. Things which are created are by definition not eternal, and certainly not divine in a godly sense. The second point Eduardo does not address is that it states the name of the Messiah was created, and not that the Messiah himself was created before the world. The intention of the Midrash is to say that God had predetermined the concept of the Messiah and redemption as part of the world's purpose prior to its creation. Hence it states that the identity of the Messiah was pre-established. This point is backed up in the Talmud elsewhere, where the rabbi states that the world was created by virtue of the merit of the Messiah. This is similar to other statements in the Midrash, such as the Torah existing before creation. This doesn't mean that the Torah itself in physical form was manifest, floating around before creation. Rather that God had decreed following the Torah as the basis for the creation of the world. Hence the sages say that the Torah existed before creation. Eduardo's deception becomes even more transparent when we find that the early sages did not reserve any sort of special exclusivity for the name of the Messiah, as they held to the pre-existence of a variety of other names. In conclusion, every single one of Eduardo's arguments rests upon selective quoting, When we actually examine the full context of these Midrashim and their broader application, it becomes significantly evident that the sages did not believe in any sort of divine Messiah. If you enjoyed our video, please like and subscribe.